Now at 9, how the Liberty Historic Theater in Columbus, Kansas is getting new life. And the city of Carthage hosts its first Food Truck Friday of the year.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
I thank you all for joining us tonight. I'm Jalen Banks. Aurora and Marionville police say they've made an arrest in an armed robbery of the Eagle Stop convenience store. On Monday, authorities say a man entered the Eagle Stop store in Aurora, displayed a handgun, and demanded the clerk give him money. The man then fled in a light-colored SUV. Authorities have since arrested Dustin Lampier on suspicion of committing the robbery. He has been charged with first-degree robbery, armed criminal action, and unlawful use of a weapon. And now Chief Meteorologist Doug Heddy joins us with a first look at the weather.
Well, it turned out to be another great day for us today. A little bit on the windy side. We had winds gusting 25 to 30 at times, but 82 was our high. Started at 54, well above our average high, 69 degrees. And we've been tracking some thunderstorms out there, the bigger storms out to our west, but parts of southeastern Kansas have at least got some action over the past few hours. You can see a couple little thunderstorms pushing through, but the big guys out to the west of Wichita, but we do have some scattered light little showers, a couple little thunderstorms just to the north of Viola, and that's mainly where they're going to stay over the next few hours, but we may get some in here late tonight. Temperature is still kind of in that 70 to 75 degree range. We have the southerly winds at about 10 to 20, so it is a little bit on the breezy side. But a few scattered thunderstorms tonight. We only drop back to 61. Also a chance tomorrow. We're going to break it down for you here in a bit.
All right, we'll see you then. The historic Liberty Theater in Columbus, Kansas is getting a new chance at life. KOAM's Carrie Worthen talks with the owner of the building on her plans.
Yeah, I mean, I just drive by it every day, and it's a really cool building, and I'm an interior designer from Pitt State, and so I always looked at it with it has so much potential.
Abby Nelson is a new owner and developer of the Liberty Building and saw the demand for housing in Columbus.
We're, like many communities, are short on housing. I have another small home company that I'm getting started up here, and hiring people to come to Columbus was hard because they didn't have any housing available. So the employees I had lived in Miami or Joplin.
Nelson told me that there'll be 6 loft apartments upstairs and that will be open downstairs for commercial use, restaurants, or even a boutique.
This building is within walking distance to our medical clinic, 2 pharmacies, our library, the grocery store, the courthouse. You know, almost anything you need you can walk to from this location.
The state of Kansas awarded Nelson a $650,000 moderate income housing grant that will help build the apartments.
I think there's a lot of buzz happening right now around town, and so it's really neat to be able to contribute to that, but then to also offer people a space that will be used in the community and needed, and to give somebody the chance to kind of live here and work here and join the community here is really neat.
So if you're looking to move to Columbus in the near future, you just might have that opportunity. In Columbus, Carrie Worthen, KOAM News.
Construction for the building is estimated to start next month. It's billed as Missouri's largest garage sale. Neosho's annual citywide garage sale kicked off today. The Chamber of Commerce estimates more than 400 sales are scattered across the Neosho area. A vendor we talked to says it's also a chance for the community to reconnect.
Always a good time, all of us together during the day, just sitting here for 2 days, catching up and reminiscing about things, and while making money in the process so we can go out and buy more clothes.
Neosho police also reminding people to be careful when crossing the street while browsing. The Neosho Chamber of Commerce is in charge of organizing the garage sale this year. In addition to registering sales, they also keep up a map of sale locations and a list of what time sales start. Chamber employees got started at 5 o'clock this morning, and tomorrow will be a busy day too. It's also a great opportunity for residents.
It is a beast unto itself. People have realized that they have a more successful garage sale if they take advantage of doing it during this weekend. Just so many more people, so many more opportunities of different people to see what they have available.
And if you're not coming out today, you have another chance at the deals. The garage sale continues tomorrow. You can Learn more about the vendors and locations at KOAMnewsnow.com. If the garage sale isn't your thing, how about some food? Missouri Southern hosted the first Food Truck Friday of the year at Carthage's Central Park. Food trucks, vendors, and more were set up. Plus, MSSU's Jazz Orchestra performed.
It's a community event. It brings the community together, and no other perfect reason than to come together for food and experience different types of foods. We have anywhere from barbecue to fried foods to tacos to shaved ice to lemonade. The list goes on and on.
The next Food Truck Friday is scheduled for Friday, May 12th. The event is organized by Experience Carthage. Coming up, cases of strep are on the rise as the nation faces a shortage of antibiotics. We'll take a look. After 2 years of record low cases of strep, the CDC reports cases are higher than usual this season, and the timing couldn't be worse, as antibiotics are harder to come by right now. Fox's Griff Jenkins is in Washington with details.
A new report from the CDC warns strep throat cases are surging, rebounding to above pre-pandemic levels.
That was the worst I've ever felt in my life.
Margot Stover ended up in the hospital after being diagnosed with invasive group A, a potentially more dangerous strain of strep, also on the rise.
I was so dehydrated because I couldn't swallow anything, and they had to put me on steroids and some other medication to try to contain it.
Symptoms for strep include fever, pain when swallowing, and a sore throat that can start very quickly and may look red. But with invasive strains, doctors say it's especially important to get tested right away.
So invasive group A strep infections are life-threatening, they're limb-threatening, they're that level of importance.
The surge in strep cases has been especially troubling for physicians given the nationwide shortage in some antibiotics, particularly pediatric versions of liquid amoxicillin, commonly prescribed to kids as a substitute for pills.
We've had shortages of amoxicillin really since last fall, and it's hard to know exactly what's going on because the manufacturers don't have to tell the public exactly why they're having a shortage.
If a prescribed antibiotic isn't available at your local pharmacy, health experts say you can ask your doctor for a substitute or call around to other area pharmacies. In Washington, Griff Jenkins, Fox News.
One of the first studies to assess the bivalent COVID-19 booster vaccine finds it's providing effective protection for vulnerable adults aged 65 and over. New research published in the Lancet Journal found that those receiving Pfizer bivalent booster had a 72% lower risk of COVID-19 related hospitalization and a 68% lower risk of a COVID-19 related death. This won't come as a surprise to anyone who tried to buy eggs this winter. The most recent outbreak of bird flu was the deadliest the U.S. has ever seen. That impacted egg prices, but the big concern is that bird flu could cross over to humans. Fortunately, that only happened to one person in the U.S. last year, to a man who was working with the sick birds. Researchers have developed a vaccine which lab tests indicate might work on humans if necessary. And Doug is back with a complete look at the forecast and later. Pitt State hosted their annual spring football game. Jacob Leonard will have those highlights in sports.
Well, it turned out to be a warm one for us today. Also very windy across the region. We had winds gusting 20 to 30 miles per hour at times, but overall, a pretty good Friday. Nice shot, indigo sky. Most of us have been dry. We've had a few scattered thunderstorms in our northwestern counties. Besides that, looking pretty good. Most of us are dry right now. A lot of ground clutter, but we are tracking some thunderstorms across southeastern Kansas, and then especially once you get into central Kansas. Most of us, just a few little spotty showers across the region, really from Pittsburgh up toward Fort Scott. One little thunderstorm just east of Iola. But the bigger guys out west of Wichita, and these are going to drive toward Kansas City later on tonight, and then they're going to sink southeast. As they do so, they will weaken, but late tonight, 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, especially southeastern Kansas, we may get a few stronger thunderstorms that try to work through. Temperature is still great, 70 in Carthage, 70 in Anderson, 75 in Veneta. Chanute is still sitting at 77 degrees. My camera went black and white. We'll fix that one. The winds, a little bit strong. Southerly winds at about 20 to 30 for us today, and it's going to stay breezy as we go through the overnight hours tonight. We'll only drop back into lower 60s for overnight lows, so not near as cold as what we've seen over the past couple nights. All right, severe threat tonight, mainly out to our west, but again, some stronger storms may get into southeastern Kansas a little bit later on tonight. And then our severe threat just kind of splits around us. So tomorrow, storms are going to fire right along the Kansas and Missouri state line and then blow up as they push off toward the east. So we need to watch a few storms early afternoon. They could become severe once they get into our eastern counties, and then once they get to Springfield, central Missouri, they will definitely become severe. So let's go through time. Thunderstorms out to our west next several hours, but then they dip southeast. So this line could still have some strong thunderstorms, but look at the time, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. They just fall apart by the time we get into the morning hours. And then once we get into the early afternoon, here's the noon hour, here's our front. So I wouldn't be surprised if some strong to severe thunderstorms pop up Fort Scott, Nevada, over towards Stockton, and then develop south into southwestern Missouri. And then they really get going once they get across central Missouri, a big band of severe weather. Behind it, we cool down quite a bit, so we'll drop back to about 60 by tomorrow evening. I think we'll get a few showers spreading in here tomorrow night. We drop down to about 40 degrees, and Sunday overall looks good. It's just going to be cooler. High temps right around 60 by the time we head into Sunday afternoon. 77 tomorrow, a few scattered thunderstorms, 61 Sunday, 71 on Monday. A few pop-up storms Tuesday and Wednesday. Severe threat returns Wednesday and Thursday. Thursday and Friday of next week.
I guess it's only right that we may get some storms next week, seeing as this week was almost perfect.
Yeah, I mean, up to just tonight, we haven't had a drop of rain.
Yeah, not at all. All right, thank you, Doug. Coming up, why your flying overseas plans for the summer could be in jeopardy. Time may not be on your side if you're planning to fly overseas this summer. Fox's Stephanie Bertoni has more on how the passport backlog is causing panic for some looking to take a trip.
Booking a trip is exciting, but it can also be stressful for various reasons. For Americans traveling overseas anytime soon, passports and renewals are an issue right now.
I'm supposed to be flying out to Paris tomorrow night, and I have a passport that is expiring in May. I was told that I cannot travel within 6 months of the passport's expiration. I had no idea.
Melinda Farina is dealing with the stress that comes from uncertainty.
I tried calling the embassy, and I tried, kept getting busy signals.
She finally got through and got an appointment to renew.
Tomorrow afternoon, basically. So I said, well, I don't think that's going to be possible. Can you guarantee that I'm going to get my new passport? They said, no, we can't guarantee it.
Her flight leaves tomorrow at 9 p.m. Her appointment is at noon.
Big picture, looking at the State Department and the passport processing, is that they have way more applications than they do people to process them.
Travel expert Sandra McLemore says when it comes to passports, you want time on your side. The U.S. Department of State is dealing with a growing backlog stretching back to the pandemic. According to the Department of State, right now, wait times for routine passport processing can take 10 to 13 weeks. You can expedite the processing for a fee and reduce the wait to 7 to 9 weeks. The processing times could still rise as we approach the summer travel season.
Last month, the State Department received 500,000 passport applications. That's a lot.
For Melinda Farina, the stress of her upcoming Paris trip has been tough to manage.
I mean, it's an awful feeling.
And clearly, she's not alone.
The FBI is now looking into more than a dozen cases of unruly passengers on commercial flights for possible criminal charges. The Federal Aviation Administration says 17 cases from the first 3 months of this year were sent to the FBI investigators for review. Incidents range from threats against fellow passengers to alleged sexual assaults. The FAA says it's now referred more than 250 cases to the FBI, a number that has grown nearly sevenfold since 2021. More people are cutting back on trips to restaurants as prices rise. A report says restaurant traffic only increased in January and February in last year. That's according to data from a restaurant industry tracker. Recently, a number of restaurant chains, including Wendy's and Cheesecake Factory, have said eating at their businesses is cheaper than eating at home. But new data from the Labor Department says the price of food away from home is up more than the price of buying groceries. Up next, how a Kansas man is taking on the challenge of a lifetime, all in honor of a special little girl. One man in Kansas is on a mission. Up and down his Prairie Village neighborhood, Tyler Alt is putting in the miles as he prepares to run the Boston Marathon. But the run is not about him. His focus is on 10-year-old Olivia Bloomfield. Olivia was born with muscular dystrophy, but didn't let it stop her from doing big things. She's also the youngest person to receive the KC Independence Rising Stars Award for her work in the community and school. But less than a year ago, on July 5th, Olivia passed away, prompting her parents to start the Olivia Bloomfield Foundation.
She did so many amazing things in this community for change and for inclusion and to make sure all kids could participate and be kids. At the new airport, they have things that she's helped get inclusive bathrooms.
Alt's mission almost came to a stop 2 years ago when he was diagnosed with a benign brain tumor. The tumor was removed 3 weeks later, but he had to be fitted with a cochlear implant. 30 more minutes of news, weather, and sports coming your way. We'll have some tips for residents who notice a bee swarm on their property. Plus, the Community Health Clinic of Southeast Kansas begins moving its facility in Fort Scott. Bee swarm season is here, and residents around the 4 states may be noticing groups of hundreds of bees near their properties. KOAM John Nahaldala visited some area beekeepers and their hives to learn more about the influx of bees.
Joplin area beekeepers say around this time, the old queen and half of the current bees are leaving their hive to look for a new place to make it home.
Early spring, yeah, once the queen in January or so will start laying a bunch of eggs or laying up, and the population gets so big in the hive that's one of the triggers for them to swarm.
Phil McGowan, Vice President of Joplin Area Beekeepers Association, says if residents notice a swarm on their yard, they can ask for help from police department or animal control, or ask the local beekeepers to come and take them, since bee prices can be high.
We call a nucleus colony, which is 5 frames of bees, a good laying queen. It's going to cost you around $200. So free bees have a significant impact for people.
Jill Carr, president of the beekeepers, says as a beekeeper, it is important at this time to check your hives and divide them so they don't overcrowd and swarm off.
I have taken those frames and have made small nuke boxes. He was talking about nucleus, and I have made smaller boxes out of them, hoping that I can make some more hive boxes. You just have to start off small.
McGowan says if a hive swarms, a lot of times they can be taken back. He says they tend to stay close by the hive at first because the queen has not been flying a lot.
Her muscles for flying aren't really well developed, so a lot of times you'll see them maybe 10 or 15 foot from the original hive, and they'll go in just small increments. Once she's used to flying, then they can take off and go quite a few places.
In Joplin, Janna Haudala, KOAM News.
The beekeepers remind not to spray for kill bees if you see swarms. Bees will start producing honey soon, and the harvesting will start around June. The Community Health Center of Southeast Kansas in Fort Scott is beginning their move to a new location. More than 100 employees will be moving into the next building, set to open on Monday. The new location will have services including primary care, walk-in care, behavioral health care, a pharmacy, and other specialty services.
We had limited space where we were at. We wanted to be a permanent fixture in the community, and so this building became available, and it was a perfect opportunity for us to grow, bring more service lines to the community, and expand as a whole, provide more providers.
The new building is at 2322 South Main Street. Local high schoolers rang out their best notes today at Missouri Southern. The university hosted an all-day vocal clinic called Acapalooza. It was a chance for the student to work on their singing and hear from some professionals. Ragtime groups, jazz musicians, and some barbershop quartets performed at the event.
They've been provided the music that is fit for kids. It's some popular music like Still the One or Lullaby. And they've been working on the music, and in working on the music, the workshop will not only emphasize accuracy, vocal production, all the things that you would do to be a great singer.
The event was hosted in the recently reopened Taylor Auditorium. This is what's left of a building at the Ozarks Amphitheater in rural Missouri. Shortly after 10 p.m. Thursday night, the building, which houses offices and concession sales, caught on fire. The roof had already collapsed by the time firefighters arrived. It took them about 45 minutes to get the blaze under control. State authorities are investigating what caused the fire. The venue is slated to host several concerts this summer. No one likes being woken up in the middle of the night by a blaring train horn outside your window, but for the small town of Belle Plaine, Kansas, it's been the reality for decades. Now, after battling a very difficult process, trains are no longer allowed to blow the horn through the town. Reporter Eli Higgins has more.
It got pretty annoying at times when we first moved in.
The horns were pretty distracting, especially if you're trying to have a conversation with someone next to you or even on the phone.
12-year-old Elijah Cummins and his mom Alexandra say living in Belle Plaine meant dealing with this. Deafening train horns blasting through the town, sometimes every 10 minutes, day and night, but not anymore.
It's a sign you might not see in any other Kansas town. Now trains going through Belle Plaine must keep quiet. They cannot blow the horns through those crossings. But getting here was not easy.
Mayor Greg Harlan says it took nearly 10 painstaking years to make it happen. The town had to modify its crossings in various ways, put up these delineators, and the hardest part, dealing with federal regulators.
I wasn't even aware that this was possible when it started. We kind of heard it through grapevine, and then Robin Macy, who is the proprietor at the Bartlett Arboretum, started the process, started informing people.
Harlan says the best part is that all of the money to make this happen came from railroad companies or private donations. So people like the Cummins can enjoy peace and calm, knowing not a single tax dollar was involved.
I think it will be a lot better now because now when I'm outside with my friends, we don't have to scream at the top of our lungs just to be able to have a normal conversation and stuff.
They're not honking anymore as they go by, and that was I felt like I was losing my mind because it was so new and fresh and nice.
A bit later, how the use of AI is impacting the financial services industry.
Well, it turned out to be a warm and windy one for us today. Now we are watching some scattered showers and thunderstorms, which are popping up. You can see them across southeastern Kansas, all the way down the state line, and even a couple little guys popping up in Ottawa County. This little batch is going to continue to push on through. It's going to be non-severe, but we are going to get a few scattered showers and thunder showers from it, but overall, not a big deal. The bigger thunderstorms are out to the west, but you can see these hit and miss showers. And then this one little thunderstorm, southern parts of Ottawa County. But again, the big boys, they're out to the west of Wichita. And this is not really a tornado threat. This is a wind and a hail threat. These are going to continue to kind of press east and then eventually southeast. But the air mass is a little bit more unstable once you get into southeastern Kansas, so they should weaken. But it's going to be late tonight, 2, 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning before they even get in. But we are going to get some scattered thunderstorms. Not everybody, but hit and miss storms. 72 Nevada, 69 Monette. We have Nowata at 76. Iola is sitting at 72. We can go outside, 7th and Rangeline, 72. South winds at about 10, but gust over 20. Humidity is at 44%. Look at our southerly winds. Kind of breezy for us today. It's going to stay breezy once again during the overnight hours tonight, but we're only going to back down to about 61 degrees, so really not that chilly. All right, biggest severe threat tonight out to our west, but still a low threat as those storms push in to southeastern Kansas. This severe threat kind of rotates around us because by the time severe weather pops up tomorrow, the front's going to be right on top of us. But again, we're going to have at least a low severe threat in southwestern Missouri. I think the storms are going to fire right along the state line and then strengthen as they push off toward the east. And then central Missouri is going to get a pretty big severe weather event tomorrow afternoon. All right, so let's go to 1 a.m. Scattered thunderstorms trying to drive in. You can see this line. It's 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, but weakening as they push in and should really just fall apart. As we go through the morning hours, we warm quickly, mid to upper 70s. Here's our front at the noon hour. So we'll see how fast these storms can develop, but I do think we'll get 1 or 2 storms, maybe Fort Scott, Nevada, down through southwestern Missouri, and then they really blossom as they push off toward the east. So that is something we want to watch, and temperatures behind this cool down quite a bit. We are going to get some showers tomorrow night, light showers. We'll drop back near 40 degrees. Sunday overall looks good, just cooler. High temps only right around 60 by the time we head into Sunday afternoon. 77 tomorrow, 61 on Sunday, 71 on Monday. Tuesday and Wednesday, a few pop-up storms, a better chance for widespread, stronger thunderstorms move in Thursday and Friday of next week.
So tomorrow at 2:30 is Missouri Southern's spring game. I shouldn't be worried about anything prior to that?
We're right on the edge there. There may be 1 or 2 quick storms.
Okay, I'll pack a jacket just in case. All right, thank you, Doug. Coming up in sports, Missouri Southern softball aims to stay in first place tonight, hosting a doubleheader against Washburn. Plus, the Pittsburgh State Gorillas wrap up their spring schedule with the team's annual spring game. Jacob Leonard has those highlights and more after the break.
Well, tonight is the end of spring ball for the Pittsburgh State Gorillas. The Gorillas wrap up their spring schedule tonight with their annual spring game at Kearney Smith Stadium. That's offense against defense tonight for PSU. Defense making plays early. This is Antoine Nunn Jr. coming up with the interception on the deep ball. Guys in red up early. The offense responds. Local guy here, St. Paul product Adam Albertini. Goes about 15 yards there for the touchdown. Now Darius Bowers in at quarterback. Scrambles out, finds another local guy, Jaden Hill from Grove, Oklahoma, there to haul in the touchdown pass. Ty Pennington, redshirt freshman at quarterback here, moves to his right, slings it to Damon Garrison. It's another touchdown for the offense, but this one goes to the defense. Off the tipped pass, Dominique Shellman gets the interception and heads the other way. Close game all night, but it's the defense winning this one 25-22.
Those takeaways, that's everything, because that builds the momentum, and that just continues to help us, give some energy to the offense, and that complementary football is everything that's going to help this team be as amazing as we want to be. And once we're able to do that in all phases, offense, defense, and special teams, that's when we come dominating. No one's going to be able to stop us.
Kind of a great way to end the spring. We've been working really hard these 14, 15 practices, whatever it is, and to kind of get out here and top it off like that felt really good. Felt good to get moving and get hit a little bit.
Well, Pittsburgh State and Central Missouri were the top 2 teams in the MIAA preseason poll back in January. So far, that's the way it's played out. Central Missouri is in first place in the conference with a 19-5 league record. Pitt State is 1 game behind them at 18-6 in the conference. Now, the Gorillas and Mules kick off a big 3-game series tonight in Pittsburgh. Zach Shoemaker on the mound for Pittsburgh State. Top of the 4th. He'll end the inning with a strikeout here. Then we'll move ahead to the top of the 6th. Gets another one down swinging. Gonna get the next batter on a strikeout as well. The Aurora, Missouri kid is fired up. He goes 6 innings and strikes out 10. The Gorillas were held scoreless in the first 4 innings, but the bottom of the 5th, down 2-1, Nixon. Brannon takes ball 4 with the bases loaded. Run scores, it's 2-2. Next batter, Carson Coffey makes him pay. Swing and a drive, no doubter there. Grand slam by Coffey gives Pitt State a 6-2 lead. Gorillas take game 1 over UCM 6-5 to pull into a tie for first place with the Mules. The Missouri Southern Lions also in action tonight. 17th ranked Lions open a 3-game set against Newman. And that one, Missouri Southern rolls big 14-4. Matt Miller homers and drives in 5. Cole Woods, another good outing on the mound, going 6 innings with 11 strikeouts. Missouri Southern softball is in first place in the MIAA coming into the night. The Lions are 13-1 in conference play, and they've won 10 consecutive games. Now Southern at home for an important doubleheader this evening, hosting 20th-ranked Washburn. On game one, top of the first out of the game belongs to Josie Topai. Comes home with it, gets the out at the plate to catch the runner. Now, fifth inning now. Southern down 1-0. Abby DeSanto comes to the plate with the bases loaded. She takes the RBI walk. Lions tie the game up 1-1. Now, next batter, Ashlyn Williams. Comes up clutch for Missouri Southern. Base hit, line drive to right. That brings in 2 runs to score. Lions take a 3-1 lead. And that's enough. Lions win game 1 over Washburn 3-1. So in game 2, Missouri Southern trying to sweep Washburn today, and that's exactly what they did. 3-1 there. Ashlyn Williams goes 2 for 2 with a homer and a pair of RBIs. Pittsburgh State softball kicks off an 8-game homestand tonight with a doubleheader against Emporia State. Game 1, second inning. Caden Trokum through the left side. Keela Griffith comes in to score from third. Gorillas go up 2-0. Later in the second, Paxton Hayes with the bases loaded yanks it into the right field corner. Gracie Sullivan scores. Taylor Lambert right behind her. Then Heather Arnett slides home. 3-run double for Hayes. It's 8-0 after 2. Third inning, 2 on for Taylor Lambert. Check it out. She hammers one opposite field over the scoreboard, over everything. 3-run blast. Lambert 3 for 3 with 4 RBIs in this one. Pitt State in control, but still not done. Same inning. Bases loaded for Sophia Driver. She pulls one down the line. Arnett is in. Hayes scores as well. 3 RBIs in this game for Driver. Gorillas hammer Emporia State in game 1 today, 16-3. Now in the second half of the doubleheader, Gorillas aiming for the sweep, but that time it's the second game. Emporia State gets the bats going. They win at 13-8. Paxton Hayes, though, picks up 2 more RBIs for Pitt State. Kylie Boley picks up a home run. She goes 1 for 4 with a pair of RBIs. And I got to say, I was out at the Pitt State spring game tonight. I've been, when I shoot baseball, softball, basketball, I'm standing in the same spot. Football, I got to get up and down the sideline. I'm not in football shooting shape yet. I was, winded after one trip.
And then speaking of that game, anybody stand out to you that we might want to talk about?
Yeah, I'm always going to talk about Adam Albertini, man, a St. Paul kid, like my size, but he's out there. He's much faster than me and much tougher than me.
Yeah, that was a good run that he had in there. All right, well, that's it for sports. We're back with more after this. We're taking a look at the rise of artificial intelligence and how it will impact the financial services industry. Fox News correspondent Mark Meredith reports.
On Wall Street, timing, speed, and information is everything. Now experts believe artificial intelligence may give some traders an upper hand in ways once unimaginable.
AIs are getting better at such a high rate, and this whole field is changing so quickly.
Michael Phillips is the chief data officer for Numerai, a hedge fund which holds contests monthly in which data scientists worldwide submit AI models to help beat the market.
We're giving out a lot of data, and then people are building AIs to predict it, and we're just taking the results of what those AIs say, and then we're trading it ourselves.
AI creators can win cryptocurrency if their model works, but Wall Street also remains cautious about AI's impact on the economy. Goldman Sachs, which admits to using AI for coding, released a report in March forecasting, quote, if generative AI delivers on its promised capabilities, the labor market could face significant disruption. The report estimates some 300 million jobs worldwide will be impacted by AI. For others, the disruption is welcome. Darktrace Federal, a cybersecurity firm, relies on AI to detect hackers faster than humans would, all in an effort to protect clients' money and intellectual property.
The AI augmented security teams are going to replace security teams that are not augmented, because they just aren't able to keep pace and scale.
So which jobs are most at risk during an AI revolution? Researchers at the University of Pennsylvania believe information processing jobs, accountants, PR specialists, court reporters are all highly likely to be impacted by AI. In Washington, Mark Meredith, Fox News.
2 Democratic senators are requesting information from Tesla CEO Elon Musk about employees sharing sensitive images from the vehicles. In a letter sent to Musk, Senators Ed Markey and Richard Blumenthal called the disregard of customers' privacy unacceptable. The senators want to know who had access to the images and recordings, if executives were aware that they were being shared, and the steps being taken to protect customers in the future. Coming up, why a man from Iowa spends his time playing catch every day and is now starting to make an impact. An Iowa man played catch every day for a year to raise money for charity. His goal was to raise $100,000 for the Miracle League of Sioux City, but he did much more than that, and he donated a kidney along the way. Taylor Deckard reports.
There's just no words because it's literally life-changing.
Karen Ward attends Sunnybrook Church in Sioux City, a recipient of a kidney from church staff member Kevin Nygaard. It all started with a simple chat on a Sunday morning in the lobby.
She said she was on dialysis and waiting for a transplant, and I asked her what her blood type was, and she looked at me kind of like, what? And I'm like, well, what's your blood type? And when she said B positive, then I just said, well, I think I'm your guy.
She challenged Kevin's thought process, but that didn't change his heart. Still playing catch each day right up before the transplant on December 1st, 2022.
To think that another human would make that sacrifice, I think it hopefully makes everyone step back and think, wow, could I do that? Why don't I do that? And what are my barriers to doing that?
Kevin was out for 5 weeks from playing catch, but found others to fill this role.
There was probably a minute where I'm like, well, let's just wait until after January 17, then I'm all done and it won't be a distraction or anything. But then I was like, that is the most selfish thing, the most selfish thought I've ever had is like, it's life-changing to the recipient and it's going to cost me 5 weeks of not being able to play catch.
Both have a message of gratitude and faith for Karen receiving the donation of life and Kevin the opportunity to give life.
Kevin said it's my story. I said, no, it's our story, but even further than that, it's a God story. It needs to be a big story because my goal is that it plants seeds in the hearts of everyone to say, what could I do,
And that's our time for tonight, and thank you all so much for joining us. But before you go, we'll leave it the video of an anteater at the Chester Zoo. Be safe, and we'll do this all again. See you then.